Hi, third graders. How are you today? I hope you're doing great. I wanted to come on to our YouTube channel so that I could continue reading our in-class read aloud, which is The War with Grandpa. And yesterday we heard that it became official that from his parents that Grandpa Jack was in fact coming to live with them. And he was pretty upset now that Grandpa Jack was going to be taking his room. So the last chapter that we read was kind of silly because it shared that he made a promise to himself that whenever he has kids, he is not going to require his kids to do anything that they don't want to do. And then he started saying some of the funny things like, well, if they don't want to brush their teeth, then I have to make them do that. And he started realizing that maybe it is kind of normal for kids to have to do things they don't want to necessarily do. So we are on now chapter 7, titled Bits and Pieces. So here we go. I noticed that my sentences were getting too long again. I'm going to start writing them shorter. About my dad. He started moving things, my things, from my room, up to the guest room, on the top floor, which is also the third floor. My toy cabinets, they're yellow Formica. White tops, 2 doors outside, 3 shelves inside, and all my good stuff was inside them. All my board games. Monopoly, baseball, Clue, careers, Risk, Snakes and Ladders, Trouble, and all my crayons were in a plastic box. Most of them were broken anyway. Old coloring books I use only when I'm homesick, and all my baseball cards, they were on the top shelf of the cabinets in the shoe boxes. I had been saving them since I was 7. I have almost 2,000 baseball cards, counting the extras. Well, then my mom moved my summer clothes upstairs, into the closet and into the guest room, my new room. I had to help my dad move my bookcase upstairs. First I moved my trophies. They all go on the top of the bookshelf. I had 6 of them, all gold. Are you noticing his short sentences? They were baseball trophies, from playing on the Beverly Boys Club team. Since I was 6 years old, every kid who gets to play gets one. I bowled a 96 in my first bowling tournament. It was my best score of all time. Now let me be honest. Every kid in the bowling tournament, they got one too. To move my bookcase upstairs, we had to first empty it. We put all my books on the floor. All my Encyclopedia Brown books, all my Great Brain books, all my Dogman books, the whole collection of sports stories too, and all the paperbacks with baseball teams that were with their records. My room began to look empty when we were all upstairs. When we moved my pictures off the walls and we hung them upstairs, like my Hank Aaron hitting his 715th home run, and my Tom Seaver pitching, and the first astronaut that was on the moon, and some of my best drawings that I ever made in school, pretty soon my walls were naked. Now my room looked weird, and it actually didn't look like my room at all. Lying on my bed, I began to think this wasn't my room. I didn't really feel like I belonged here. A few days before Grandpa came, we moved up my dresser. First we took the drawers out, then we carried them up one by one. Then we moved my dresser. It wasn't too heavy. Then we moved the old dresser from the guest room down into this room. And every night I had to go upstairs to bring out my clean clothes for the next day. We moved my desk next. It went upstairs into the corner of the guest room. I had to go up to the top floor every day after school to do my homework. The only thing left in my room was my bed. And the night before Grandpa came, we had to move the bed upstairs too. Now, all the guest room stuff was now in my room, and all my things were up on the top floor in the guest room. I guess you'll start sleeping up here now, huh? Starting tonight, Dad said. I didn't say anything. You okay, Pete? Dad asked. You look like you're going to cry any second. I won't cry, I said, and I hoped that was true. You're going to get used to it, Dad said. He looked out the window. It's a really nice view from up here. Take a look, Pete. I stood next to my father and looked out. I could see my neighbor's house across the street. The street light on the corner was shining through the trees. The tree on our lawn looked really close now. I felt like I could almost touch the branches. My dad put his arm around my shoulders. Growing up, Pete, he said. Sure isn't easy. Sometimes you have to do things that you don't wanna. I hate it up here, I said. Dad sighed. I know, but Peter, you mustn't ever let Grandpa Jack know that, or else he'll feel terrible. And believe me, he already feels terrible. I didn't say anything when Dad hugged me. I didn't even feel any better from the hug. The last thing that was moved into the guest room was me. Chapter 8, Night Fright. Now, I'm a little ashamed of this part of my story, but I have to tell the truth. Not only was I mad as a wet hairnet, but about losing my great room, I was a little bit scared about sleeping upstairs too. I brushed my teeth, I did my go-to-bed things in the top floor bathroom instead of the beautiful bathroom that Jenny and I shared downstairs. I had to use this dinky, dim, little bathroom. It was gross. The mirror was so old it had dark stains on it. The sink was really tiny and it kind of was yellowed instead of being white. And the walls were like this dark old wood, kind of looked like an old rough cabin in the woods. I went downstairs to my parents' bedroom and kissed Mom goodnight, and on the way back upstairs, I peeked into my old room. It looked so strange to see different furniture in there. It was strange. It kind of felt like it hurt my heart. It was scary to go upstairs to my room. The staircase leading to the top floor was narrow and rickety, and the steps were bare wood that would creak when you would step on them. And there wasn't too much light, not like the steps leading to the second floor, which was covered with thick carpet and had beautiful light fixtures. Everything was just plain as day. No, the hallway upstairs was spooky. There was a narrow little space that was very dark, with open doors to empty rooms that looked like black caves where someone could be hiding. Now, I know that sounds silly, but that's how I was feeling. There is no boogeyman who sits in the dark to grab kids. I know that. But at 9 o'clock at night in the dim little hallway with the floorboards creaking, you can get frightened whether you know that or not. I kind of jumped into my new room, slammed the door shut really fast, and just as fast, I jumped into my bed and under the covers. I waited a while before I turned off my lamp. I was no hurry to get it any darker any sooner, but finally I did it. And that turned to be pretty scary too. Like I said before, in my old room, I knew there was everything where everything was and how everything was, and nothing was scary. But up here, it was different. A light was flickering on the ceiling and on the wall, and it was making shadows that jumped around. There was a rustling noise that came from outside the window, and something in the hallway made a sound. Was it a footstep outside my door? Now, I may sound very brave just writing these things down. The truth was, I was terrified out of my mind. The waving shadows of yellow light on the wall almost began to look like two black arms that could grab me. "Be still, my heart," I was whispering to myself, which is something my mom says sometimes. I felt like an idiot talking to myself, but I was the only company I had in my room. "It's nothing," I said. "It's nothing." I crossed my fingers, I crossed my toes. "Go to sleep," I told myself. "Just close your eyes and fall asleep and everything will be hunky-dory." Ha! I got into my best sleeping position, which is curled up on my right side with my hands tucked right underneath my chin. The nestling sound had to be from the big old oak tree that was outside my window. I figured that out after a while, and that spooky yellow light was probably the street lamps that was on the corner, and the noises I was hearing outside my door were just old floorboards creaking. And there really wasn't a crook or a murderer sneaking up to get me. Well, probably. And then I began to get angry. Why was I the only one in this house who had to give up something for Grandpa? Why me? And why was I stuck up here in this disgusting, scary place instead of staying in my great and wonderful old room? I thought about my illustrated book of old sea battles and the picture book of John Paul Jones on deck with his big curved sword in the air, saying, "I have just begun to fight," he said. It gave me an idea. Maybe there was a way I could fight to get back what was really mine. But how? That's what I was thinking about as I fell asleep. And tomorrow we will hear our next chapter that's titled Grandpa Jack. Ooh, I wonder if he's now coming into town and if the war will begin sooner than we thought. Ooh. Well, have a wonderful day. I will continue to think about you and make good choices at home, and make sure you're spending some time to also read with all the fun playing that you're doing. All right? I will be on soon. Take care, my friends.